but literally for all the victims of police brutality and or murder. So I'm gonna give a big mic check and I'm gonna bring my sister in now. Mic check!
Mic check!
Mic check!
Mic check!
Good evening, everybody. We're here today again to ask for either a verbal response via the media or a formal written response from State Attorney Marilyn Mosby as to whether or not she plans to reopen, properly investigate, and prosecute the almost 9-year-old case of the murder of Tyrone West at the hands of Baltimore City Police and Morgan State University officers. When Marilyn Mosby was first approached about this case while running for office, she gave the canned response of needing to review the specifics of the case. Mosby ran against Greg Bernstein, claiming to be progressive, and that she would be the people's state attorney. Hold on. Yet, when she won and entered into the position, Mosby merely picked up the corruption reins where Greg Bernstein left them. Marilyn Mosby has continuously refused to even charge, let alone prosecute killer cops. The only exception was her sorry attempt to quell volatility that had built up in the city after Freddie Gray's murder, and she ensured that the charges against all of those killers were eventually dropped to never be pursued again. Marilyn Mosby does not deserve a pass in the minds of the public for this, as she purposely mishandled the Freddie Gray case so the killer cops would get off. Marilyn Mosby was approached by Tawanda Jones, her family and her supporters repeatedly, only to be told, "If you supply me with any additional evidence, I'll take another look at the case." This statement literally puts the onus of doing a murder investigation on grieving families who were civilians, thus making these grieving people perform Mosby's actual job duties. Marilyn Mosby probably said this in hopes that it would deter Tawanda. I want you all to understand something right now. There is plenty of evidence in all of the materials of the original police and medical examiner files. All Marilyn Mosby needed to do was pull the file, open it, review its contents, and make her decision then, almost 8 years ago.
Right.
Yet, she has run the state's attorney's office with such unprofessionalism and recklessness that the ineptitude of their practices is beyond comprehension. The public has always suspected that the state's attorney's office worked way too closely with Baltimore City Police to the point of providing cover for officers who are guilty of misconduct, including beating, maiming, raping, drug trafficking, gun running, and murder. The state's attorney's office under Marilyn Mosby has taken this misconduct to new heights. 4 years ago, when Tawanda Jones called Marilyn Mosby's bluff and handed her additional materials to consider the case of Tyrone West's murder, Marilyn Mosby did not hold up her end of the bargain. Instead, she's chosen to ignore repeated attempts to secure an answer to a very simple question. Will you, Marilyn Mosby, state's attorney for Baltimore City, reopen, reinvestigate, and prosecute the case of the murder of Tyrone West? It really is that simple. All of these actions took place before all of Marilyn Mosby's current personal drama. Marilyn Mosby's persistent inaction on all police brutality cases speak volumes about where she stands regarding actually working for the people of Baltimore City. It speaks volumes at her ineptness to perform the duties of the office she is currently taking up space in. Marilyn Mosby doesn't care about the people of Baltimore. Marilyn Mosby has nothing to gain by performing her actual job duties as prescribed by law, but is really an opportunistic ladder climber who's out for herself. For the mainstream media that has been pondering whether or not the poor performance of the state's attorneys, prosecutors in recent trials is due to a lack of focus because of Marilyn's drama, I'm here to tell you the answer is a resounding no. They have always functioned this way because you're only as good as your leader, and Baltimore has been subjected to one corrupted official after another to head that office.
Facts!
There's only a little bit more. Marilyn Mosby cares nothing about the people of Baltimore, least of all the victims of police brutality, nor their families. I'm here to stand with Tawanda Jones, as well as the families of Donnell Rochester, Timothy Fleming, Marcus Martin, Nicholas Lee, Anthony Anderson, and the countless others to say, we want an answer, Marilyn Mosby. Do your job. And free Keith Davis Jr. Mic check.
Mic check!
Mic check. Thank you so much. So just like my sister said, a few years ago, I called Marilyn Mosby's bluff, which I shouldn't have had to do in the first place. That was very devastating, very painful for my family to go through that. You know, after my brother was brutally executed. So I'm going to go into real quick, in case somebody don't know who Tyrone was. I want to go into everything real fast. So, my brother Tyrone West was a father, a church man, and a grandfather who never got a chance to meet his grandchildren. Why? Because he was executed. My brother Tyrone was an honest man who always believed in telling the truth. If you messed up, you did something wrong, just tell the truth. Deal with the consequences. You know? And the saddest part, when my brother Tyrone West was snatched from his children, grandbabies, my family, and he was the first born into my family. He was the first grandchild. So, you know, he was the joy of the family. He was the glue of the family. Not only was he my big brother, he was like a father to me. Literally, when my brother, you know, got incarcerated years ago and he didn't murder anyone. And it was all because he decided that he didn't want to snitch on his roommate. You know, so he, like, okay, you know, you live by this little foolishness of the streets. But he did his time. He didn't kill anyone, he did his time. Came home to rebuild his life, to be brutally executed. And when my brother first came home, to me, it was like bringing my mother back from the dead. That was a big part of me. It was just literally like that. I had this image of my mother / father, my big brother, my best friend, my church buddy, my everything. So if people don't know why I fight the way I fight, this is why I fight the way I fight. They snatched my world away from me on July the 18th, 2013. And if the pain was so devastating and so real that my brother always talked about having a good communication with each other, that no matter what, even if we can't talk, make sure you text back to let you know the other person's okay. So we had a good communication with each other. The day started off so beautiful because every day, even going through trials and tribulations of this world not being so good at times, when people are mad and angry and vicious things happen. But every day was a beautiful day, waking up to my brother ringing my phone to wake me up to be on time. And he was so a man on time that he told me, your job schedule, you're supposed to be there at 8:30, sis. You're supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, because 8:30, to me, that's like you're being late. You're not giving yourself room to where as though if your car needs gas, whatever. So he was a punctual man. He was a healthy, physical, fit man, everything. And he was a man that believed in making sure women were okay. This is why his whole life got snatched on July the 18th. The media won't tell you this, so let me tell you. That day started off as a beautiful day. My brother, he had a part-time job. I had a full-time job. I'm a teacher. I even teach in the summertime. But it worked out perfectly because I was to the point that homicides was happening in our community, and I vowed to myself that I did not want my brother to become a statistic. I literally vowed to myself. So I just bought my Mercedes-Benz at the time, and I'm like, bro, you can hold my car. You know, long as you're safe, you can borrow my car, take me to work, pick your niece and nephew up from camp, type of thing, take your daughter, because my oldest daughter was working at a little first McDonald's job. So I'm like, you pick your niece up, we good. He like, oh yes, sis, I can't. He was so excited. And he woke me up that morning happy. Hey sis, good morning. And as the day progressed, I went and picked him up, we switched sides. He took me to work, he got off work, and then I get off at 5:30. He was at my job at 5 o'clock, waiting. And I remember the little students, because my job, my classroom is facing the window of the playground. You can see when my brother pull up.
as well as you can see the other parents coming to pick their children up from school. And every time they would see my car, the little beautiful girl in my class would always say, Mr. Warner, there's your brother. There's Tyrone. So that day I ran out happy as can be. And the interesting part, I had just had an officer in my class. And I was so happy about that moment because when the officer came, it was my co-teacher husband. And he literally was talking about the DARE program from Northeast Police District. He actually worked for Northeast Police District. And in my opinion, he was a good officer. He came, he was friendly with the children, he talked about safety prevention, all this. And he gave us a teddy bear for the DARE. It was a DARE bear. So I take the DARE bear, I'm going to the car, I got a picture with me of the officer and all my students. And as I'm getting in the car, my brother said, what you got that teddy bear for, sis? And I explained to him about the DARE program, and at that moment, he told me, sis, oh my God, that's awesome. He said, I didn't know Officer Friendlies exist anymore. He said, I know you ain't from the old school, but I'm from that old school. Officer Friendly used to come to the classroom and he broke it all down to me. So I'm like, oh, cool. I said, I think Mama ain't down. I mean, we ain't that far apart. I'm not, I know what you're talking about. So we laughed, joked it all, type of thing. And long story short, went on our way. And that day, normally he would cook dinner at his house or I would cook dinner. This day it was hot outside, of course. It's July. And at that moment he said, sis, I know you ain't cooking. I ain't cooking. He said, look, I'll treat us to our local little surf shop. I'm like, okay, anybody know me know I love food. Don't let the size fool you. So we went to the restaurant, and while we're there ordering our food, he gets a call from a lady acquaintance that he barely knew. Literally knew this lady not even a month. But it was interesting because how he met her, when he was taking me to work, she literally jumped almost on the roof of my car. Like, oh my God, how you doing? You a drug dealer? It's a nice car. He like, what? Drug dealer? No. This ain't even my car, first of all. This is my sister's car. So she like, oh, well, can you give me a ride? All this foolishness. So he like, okay, I'll give you a ride. And then literally she called him back saying she was stranded, she needed a ride. And then he told her, well, it's not my car, I'm going to ask my sister. We're at the restaurant. Then she even asked him, could he bring her some wings? She said, okay. He said, okay. Got her some wings. He left. And that was the last time I saw my brother alive. And literally, like I talked about at the beginning, I said relationships mean a lot. And being communicating and all that type of stuff. And literally, at exactly 7 o'clock, I'm laying, after I finish eating, I'm in my house, I'm making my lesson plan up, because we started to have a clown show up the next day, in camp. I'm there, and I started feeling excruciating pain on the side of my neck, to the point it felt like somebody broke my neck. I fell off my bed, I'm screaming, my fiance's like, what's going on? You okay? I said, I don't know, I'm thinking I might be having a stroke, something medical, I don't know. I never felt this kind of pain, but the pain lasted about 10 minutes tops. Then after that, the pain just left out my body, and I'm like, what the hell just happened to me? And immediately, my world shifted. I knew something was wrong with my big brother. Immediately, I started calling him. I'm freaking out now. I'm like, oh my God, Tyrone. My family's like, calm down, Tony, because I'm calling him because he's not answering. I'm like, man, I got this cold. We never not answer. Maybe he's asleep, this, that, and the third. Worst thing we thought happened to Tyrone on July the 18th, car accident type of thing. Then it went from, okay, we called local hospitals. I'm like, he went near the Kentmore, Calisway neighborhood to pick this girl up who was stranded. I'm like, I don't know, like where he could have been at. So then they like, well, let's call Good Sam Hospital, make sure he's not there. They called Good Sam. They even went so far to call Union Memorial. No Tyrone West. Long story short, they even started calling detention centers. Maybe he might have got locked up for something. Who knows? Nobody saw him. Nobody. It's like, how do a grown man go missing for hours? So at this moment, I'm calling my daughter. This is her first job working at McDonald's. I'm literally calling her saying, baby, something happened to your uncle. He's not coming to get you tonight. I'm like, literally, he's not coming to get you tonight. And she's like, what? Long story short, it came to pass that my brother was murdered. We saw it on the 10 o'clock news, late breaking. A man, they said, died. They didn't say he was beat to death. He was murdered. They said a man went into a medical condition and literally died on Kentmore Causeway. But the interesting part, they showed a few witnesses sobbing on the news, crying, saying how they beat my brother from one side of the street to the next. One witness said how they pulled him out by his dreadlock, started tasing him, pepper spraying him, how they had video footage of everything. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, so my whole world ended and my new world began. Somebody that was shy, somebody didn't like to talk in front of people, now I gotta talk to the world. I went a whole month, literally I couldn't talk. But the thing that was so bad about my brother being beat to death by 17 cops, not one, 17. Kicked, stomped, pepper sprayed, tased, tortured, maced, gasping for breath. The worst thing about all of it was the damn cover-up. How does it get worse than somebody getting tortured in broad daylight with people with video footage? How can it get worse than that? Well, it did. Well, you had people covering up. Instantly, the detectives came to my family's house. Well, literally, we went to them that night. Like, why didn't y'all come to us? What's going on? But they pretty much told me, Miss Jones, we don't want to talk to you right now. We're dealing with a homicide of a 16-year-old baby who got her throat slashed. And later, I learned that, and I didn't know that I was going to meet the lady's grandmother, Nana, at the Roberta house while I was recovering through the trauma and the stress of my brother getting murdered. I sat right next to Nana, crying, and then she told me how the baby that I turned my pain off for a few minutes because I'm a mother. Even though I was grieving like hell for my brother, I turned my pain off for a few minutes and told my family, calm down. A baby got killed. Let's just meet up with them tomorrow. Let's just go home. I knew I wasn't going to get no sleep. I literally stayed awoke like a zombie, passed out a week later because I could not go to sleep. I could not turn my pain off. I had my uncle and my cousin speaking up as a representative of the West family for a whole month. But once I started talking, you can't shut me up. You can't pay me to be quiet. You will never shut me up. No dollar amount will shut me up. No threats, death threats will shut me up. No lies will shut me up. No negotiating under the table will shut me up. And when I speak from a place of love, not only for my brother Tyrone West, but for all the victims of police brutality. And Nicole can attest, we had our first interview. I got everybody to come meet us right downtown, right down here around the corner. And I told them they cannot talk to my family till they talk to Anthony Anderson family first. Because they was trying to make it seem like these are isolated incidents. No, baby, it's systemically happening. It's worldwide, unfortunately. And right now, I'm praying for Darnell Rochester's family. Because when I look at that family, and that's why I think I haven't been around and see so many protests, because I can't go back to that kind of pain. It's too traumatizing to see your loved one and to see another family standing out there fighting like hell. And ain't nobody coming out there that's supposed to be of any type of power or influence, standing up there doing the right thing. That baby was murdered, and guess what? By Northeast Police District. The same district that murdered one unarmed man, Tyrone West, for a so-called traffic stop. Now you got Darnell Rochester, a so-called traffic stop. You got the officer, and they think we so stupid. They play a video. We see the officer jump in front of the car. We see him yelling stuff to make it seem like Darnell Rochester had a gun. Talking about shots fired. You're the only one shooting. Why are you yelling shots fired when you're the one shooting? This baby ain't have a damn gun. This baby feared for his life. And then they had time, if they wanted to save this baby, they could have. Just like even all the hell that they beat my brother, they slaughtered him. But if they wanted to save him, they could have. Good Sands is 3 minutes away from where they slaughtered my brother. They left him there to die for 30 minutes. The same thing they did to Darnell. The same thing, so that's real painful for me. That's beyond painful. Because then I think about poor Darnell laying there bleeding out, crying he can't breathe. It takes me back to when Tyrone was laying there, screaming he can't breathe, help, Trayvon Martin. When you had a 320-pound animal, after 16 officers beat him, pepper spray kicked him, treat him worse than an animal. That's what they did to my brother. And they wonder why I'm not going away. I'm never going away. And I don't give a damn how many years, how many months, how many weeks, how many seconds, how many minutes, how many hours it takes. I'm never going to miss a beat. And that's why I get infuriated when they try to play these taxes like something changed. First of all, I ain't walk on the street 2 days later after my brother got killed, or 2 years later. I was there from day one. I literally, and I'll never forget, when my aunt said, oh my God, and then when my cousin Tavon, who's no longer here, who got murdered, and we still don't know why he got murdered. This is what they doing to my family. But I remember being in City Hall, and I got down on my knees. I got down on my knees, begging Amos, saying, please, please help my family. Them motherfuckers ain't good. That ain't mean nothing to them. But I thought if I humbled myself to that point, stooped that low, to get down to Amos and say, please, can you help my family? That didn't mean anything. But I'll be damned if you ever see me in such a stance ever again. Once I got up from that floor in that chambers with the dog and pony show, I will never humiliate myself with my family again. That's why I don't even try to cry outside, because they don't give a damn about our pain. It's on with the next one. And last but not least, I wanted to talk real quick, because I wrote a few notes. This is about a former sergeant admitted to helping violate Baltimoreans. He was granted full immunity. Full immunity. Full immunity. Literally. And it's disgusting. And they was playing people, they was playing drugs on people, robbing people. And this man, I'm sorry. No, you good. So this person, he got pretty much into office in 1992. But he said that the corruption about robbing people, planting drugs, and all this kind of stuff, he said, yeah, I got to get Keith Gladson. Keith said, he said pretty much that this been going on since the 90s. So if you think about him saying that, this been going on forever. And if we think that it stopped because they put a few jokes behind bars of the gun trace task force, and mind you, Ruiz, the first officer to arrive at my green Mercedes-Benz, the first officer was a part of the elite gun trace task force. So let's be crystal clear on that. It was to the point, Mr. Thompson, one of his victims, after my brother, they kept raiding this house so much, this man got out, packed his stuff, and left. He left Baltimore. He said, I'm too old to be going through this. But the fact that they're all still working with immunity, and then he got qualified immunity, that's the same thing that they did to my brother. They didn't even investigate all of those killers. They was granted immunity off the top. How do you grant killers immunity off the top? You don't investigate, you don't give a damn. Oh, but see, what their game is, they so used to, let's take out our checkbook, write the family off a check, and send them on their way. Even though we know money will not bring back, all the money in the world won't bring back our loved ones. But that's their game that they play. They think, you know what, we in this capitalist society, let's offer them an alright dollar amount, send them on their way. I told them, take that money and stick it where the damn sun don't shine. And we fought like hell, along with the mayor, who was the city council president at the time, to get the gag order law passed, to where as though no victim would suffer. And my thing is this, if they kill me, work to take care of my family, they better make sure my children okay. That's a given. So what they got to do with, telling my kids and family, well, y'all can't talk about who murdered Tawanda. He go to church. No. Forced silence condones violence. We tell our babies, if someone touch you, violate you, hurt you, please make sure you tell. Do not keep that a secret. Nobody has the right to violate you, and you keep that quiet. That's painful than the attack. So we can teach our babies that, but yet it's the flip side. There's always a flip side when it comes to poopy hole. That's what I call it. Trying not to use no cuss words right now. But it's a shame. And then they get to be closed down for 2 years, and they just open back up Monday. Still playing the same dog and pony show. So now, again, while we're here, we're demanding that Marilyn Mosby, I don't care about your finances, I don't care about you at first wanting a speedy trial, now you want to wait till September. I don't give a damn about none of that. I care about you giving my family answers as to what you're going to do or not going to do. Period. Period. That's all we want. And to know that Timothy Fleming's family, and I'm going to bring my queen up here, if she feel like talking, because I don't like putting people on the spotlight, but I'm going to bring her up next. Her brother was murdered almost a year ago. Ask them, do they got the autopsy report? Hell no. They still waiting on Marilyn Mosby. That's disgusting. It almost killed me waiting 154 days for some foolishness. I had to dig in my pocketbook and get out $50,000 to have my brother's body exhumed. You're not going to lie and say, my brother had a bad heart and just dropped dead. What about those 17 officers who were overdressed in the heat? Why their heart ain't stopped? Why they ain't passed out on the ground? You know why? Because Tyrone wasn't kicking them, stomping them, putting them in a position where as though they couldn't breathe, choking them out pretty much.
Exactly.
That's why. And then for them to cover them up, and then, last but not least, I'm going to bring my queen up. We buried Tyrone wearing a black shirt, a black, white, and gray tie, and white pants. When I got his body exhumed 2 to 3 years later, why did he have on a yellow shirt? Who put him on a yellow shirt? Where did that come from? Why 3 days after my brother was murdered, and I told his landlord, change the locks, my brother got killed, he's an artist, I'm going to come retrieve all this thing for his children and my family. Please just change the lock. He said, okay. He called me Miss West. He said, okay, Miss West, I got you. I'm going to change the locks today. And then he called me literally 3 days later and said, I don't even know how to tell you this, but I'm going to get to the point. I don't know who in the hell broke in your brother's house, but there was no forced entry. I changed the locks. I don't understand this. And he said, in the way it looked like it was a house raid. All the cabinets were open. Stuff was set out front. Neighbors grabbed belongings. Who breaks in somebody's house and set their stuff out? Who? The damn po-po. That's who. That's who. And I'm going to leave y'all on that note. That's who. But I still want to know who put my brother on a yellow shirt. Who put my brother on a yellow shirt? We talking about evil, and the crazy part, they try to make us seem like we are crazy, like we're losing it. Hollywood couldn't make this stuff up. And I remember, and I'm ending, I'm giving my sister the mic. I remember my brother saying, sis, if anything ever happened to me, I want you to take that position to stand up for me. He said, I look at you like God. He said, I said, no, don't give me that high title. He said, no, sis, I'm dead serious. He said, why? Because you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't get high, you don't use drugs, and you're real honorable. I would always and pray that you would be the one to represent me. I didn't ask for this. I was chosen. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
I'm Angela Sutton, the sister of Timothy Fleming. My brother was murdered May 16th inside of his home by 2 Baltimore City police officers. Like my sister Tawana said, we still haven't received the autopsy report, an investigative report. And not only that, his kids are still in the home that he was murdered in. We raise money to try to help them move, but it's not that easy. The system keeps playing games with Social Security because one of my nephews have autism. So once my brother was murdered, they started playing games with that money. They cut a check to give a check. They cut this check to give another check. It's all bullshit. The kids are fucking traumatized inside of that home. It's almost a year later. May 16th be a year. It's very heartbreaking and saddening to be out here almost a year later talking about the same thing. My sister been out here almost 9 years talking about the same thing. Police always fucking show up when we're being peaceful, but they're the fucking radicals. Killing cops belong in cell blocks. Fuck 12. I'm still angry, so I'm not even gonna apologize for my language. I'm not gonna apologize for anything that I say because this is Angie, not West Wednesday, not Tawanda. It's fucking shameful that the same district killed my brother, Northeast District.
Wow.
Oh yeah. He lived at 1824 East Lafayette Avenue. What district is that? These fucking killer cops will not stop. And it's shameful. I hate coming to this fucking city. Every time I come here, it rains. No lie. Every fucking time I come here, it rains. Yeah, because God ain't pleased with this. He's not pleased with this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to give it back to my sister. Marilyn Mosby, I don't give a fuck about your legal woes because I talked about this last year in August in front of your daggone office. I called this shit last year in front of your office. August last year. Go back and check the tape. I said it. Go sell them fucking Gucci bags and all that shit, like I said. Get your legal woes in order and get all these people prosecuted. These killer cops prosecuted. Get my family an autopsy report, investigative report. Get these killer cops off the streets. I'm tired of coming to this dirty ass city. I was thinking about even moving here. I'm sorry that y'all live here and I said the city dirty. I'm sorry. I do apologize for that. I do apologize for that because I was born and raised here actually. I was actually born and raised here, so don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. I was born and raised here, so don't get it twisted. That's right, exactly. From the top to the bottom. There you go. There you go. From the politicians to the streets. From the politicians to the streets. You know, you have all these politicians out here talking about what they're going to do. I remember, who was that, Congressman Stokes that stopped past for my brother on his birthday. Said they was going to help my family get out of the house.
No.
That was February 5th. I'm calling them out. The Stokes family.
Let's go.
I'm so mad I left there that day because Carl Stokes is a damn joke. Let me tell y'all the truth. Tell the truth, shame the devil. Carl Stokes watched me and my brothers grow up. His house right next door to my grandmother's house. And this house Negro, and I said it, this not Angela, this not the West Coalition, this T. Jones. This house Negro, this bourgeois, never in public said my brother's name once. And tip, and I'm going to give it back to my sister. I had to get it out of the Stokes. We saw, when I used to go visit my brother when he was incarcerated, Carl Stokes was up there every week with me going to visit his goddamn son that's doing life. Mic check.
Mic check!
Like I was saying, the Stokes family pulled up February 5th on the corner of Lafayette and Wolf Street. I didn't want to speak to him. I got in my car and I left. But I did get word that they said they were going to help my family get out of the house. What's the day? April what, 6th? And they still in there. I'm going to say fuck all of y'all politicians. Fuck y'all elections and all that shit. I don't live here. Fuck y'all.
There you go.
I mean, like, for real. I mean, y'all keep playing with my family, but I'm saying, y'all need to stop. There's kids involved. There are children involved. Children involved. Being traumatized every single day. Marilyn Mosby, get your shit in order. So you can get your office in order, so you can get these fucking killer cops in order. Michael Harrison, I don't know what the fuck you doing. Brandon Scott, I don't know what the fuck you doing either. Fuck all of y'all, for real. Mic check.
Mic check!
And I'm going to give it to my brother Shorty. Before I give it to my brother Shorty, like, she may forget what I was going to say. My sister, I love you. She be putting it out there raw, y'all. I love it. I'm sorry, it ain't funny, but it's funny. But there was something I wanted to say though. Oh, so I wanted, before I bring my brother Shorty up, I just want to tell you the relationship and the respect that I have for Shorty. Literally, had it not been for Shorty, let's be crystal clear. I remember he early on, day one, connected with my family. He even gave one of my uncles some materials on how to fight this dirty system. I never got to see the materials, but he definitely gave it to my Uncle George. But nevertheless, what he did that was so remarkable, I remember we was out here doing a West Wednesday many years ago, and he pulled up one of the politicians, got in his face, and was like, didn't your mother teach you some manners? And had it not been for Shut 'em Down Shorty, Tyrone West was the first one to have a resolution hearing that went on for a whole year, thanks to Shut 'em Down Shorty, who shut the politicians down.
Go Shorty.
And then they was like, okay, we'll meet with the West family. And sure enough, we met with them. Had it not been for Shut 'em Down Shorty, I was at Morgan State University when this new commissioner came in. I got my hand raised gently, all that. He ignored me. Saw my hand, and Shorty was like, we ain't doing none of this. My chap. That's why I call him Shut 'em Down Shorty. He shuts them down. So, no further ado, Shut 'em Down Shorty. My chap.
Mic check!
Mic check.
Alright, if y'all turn around, look at them storyboards right there. I've been fighting my fight since 2006. Alright? The only reason I ain't dead, the police came in my house on October the 15th, 2010. The gun task force. They came in my house at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 2 o'clock. And the only reason I ain't dead is because I was running a homeless shelter. Alright? I'm a whistleblower in the courts. It ain't the dirty cops, it's the dirty courts. Because they can't do what they do without the judges, and they can't do what they do without Jane Miller, Barry Sims, and their media, Fox 45.
Right.
In 2006, I started this Shorty program. It was about Get Shorty. It was about being black in Baltimore. All right? I came here straight out the Illinois Department of Corrections in 1991. I went to jail to end the war on drugs. You talk about the violence in Baltimore, I came from Chicago. All right? In the 80s, territorial drug disputes, my name was on them. Shooting at police, my name was on them. In 1968, when they killed Martin Luther King, I was throwing rocks at police. I've been in the streets since 1972. You understand what I'm saying? I'm the most unarrestable black man in Baltimore. I'm the most unarrestable black man in Baltimore. Y'all done seen what I done did around here. When I say shut it down, shut it down. Mainstream media is not your friend. Mainstream media is not your friend. Jane Miller is not your friend. Mary Sims is not your friend. Kai Jackson is not your friend.
Definitely not.
You feel me? They use the media to demonize black people and to justify the killing of our communities. They don't,
Tools. They're tools. That's it.
In 1986, I turned in guns and drugs to the police at the police station. I turned in my client list. I didn't turn in JoJo and Johnny. I turned in judges, lawyers, and politicians that be getting high after they write the laws to lock us up. You feel me? I got an FBI file. I got a Department of Justice file. You can go Google search this. You can go straight to Eric Barron, Robert Hur, Thomas Hardy of the Department of Justice right here on Charles Street. You go right to Marilyn Mosby's office. You go right here to Brandon Scott. Look at the picture. Brandon Scott got this. If you look at that, turn that over to paperwork, paper trail send white people to jail too. They don't send white people to jail in Baltimore. All you do is send black people to jail. Start sending white people to jail and this law will start working. You got 52 members of the Democratic Party and Republican Party to keep you incarcerated and underfoot. We traded the penitentiary for the plantation, cotton for cocaine, and our kids is the cash crop. Your kids get treatment, mine get treated. You feel me?
Right.
These judges is taking payoffs. Their 401ks, their surety bonds are tied to the Alabama state prison industry. That's why they sent Mayor Pugh to Alabama. They got 2 checks. One from Illinois, one from Maryland. When she's on the circuit, she gets a higher rate of pay. If you want to beat the system, do like the Boy Scouts. Take them to court on a class action lawsuit. Do it like the choir boys at the Catholic Church. Take them to court on a class action lawsuit. Black people never asked to come here. Black people never asked to come here. We came here as property. We still treated as property. We traded the penitentiary for the plantation, cotton for cocaine, and my kids is the cash crop. You got a problem with me? Take me to court. Take me in front of a jury. It ain't fuck 12 because 12 people got me out of jail. You feel me?
There you go.
12 people got me out of jail. In 2011, I put a toilet in front of the Towson courthouse because I got tired of white people shitting on black people. So I shit back. They charged me with terrorism. I've been charged with terrorism 3 times. I ain't never paid for a lawyer in my life. And I'm still standing. You can Google search me. I just don't run my mouth. I can back up what I say out my mouth. You feel me? Y'all done seen me chase the police down. You done seen me shut shit down because I can. I learned from Martin Luther King. I learned from Malcolm X. You feel me? They gave us a dream. I'm gonna turn that dream into a reality. They got rid of, they don't tell you about Marcus Garvey. Anybody know about Marcus Garvey?
Yeah.
What did Marcus Garvey do? He said, leave this motherfucker.
Yep.
Marcus Garvey said, leave America. Because we are in an abusive relationship.
Right here.
We have been in America for 400 years. Passover just coming over. Easter getting ready to be celebrated. Jesus ain't coming back, y'all. We've been waiting for 2,000 years for that motherfucker. All right? He ain't coming back. I said that. We've been here for 400 years. Let's practice Garveyism. Let's leave here. If the Jews was in Egypt for 400 years and God gave them a pass to leave and establish their own nation in Jerusalem, why can't we? Why can't we? We as black people need to take control of our black futures and partner up with our white partners and create this thing. We can leave America. We don't have to be here. There is black outside of America. There was the thing called a Middle Passage. Take the ship back home. They got land in Africa. Take my people and let them go. If you got 40 and 50 years in the prison industry, that's $47,000 a year. That means that you're worth $2 and $3 million. So you tell me, we came here as property, we still property. We are 13%, 15% drug users and 56% penitentiary. What does that tell you? How many white people use drugs? Smoke them if you got them. I smoke them all day. If we're gonna fight this fight, we gotta fight with a strategy. To dismantle the master's house, you gotta use the master's tools. Social media for social change. You understand what I'm saying? Stop letting the media come in your neighborhood telling half-ass stories. Make them tell the truth or pack that shit up. Fox 45 is not your friend. If you look at their TV station, all they talk about is black, 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 black. Black people ain't the only ones committing crimes in Baltimore. They're not. They're not talking about that. So we got to talk about it. Make yourself an independent news network. Turn them cameras into working and stop twerking. You feel me? Don't do this Instagram challenges. The challenge now is to turn you into a reporter. Make you tell the news. Be specific in your ask. When you go into City Hall, man, that's our house. They work for us. You got a mathematical equation. You got a numerator and a denominator. The numerator is the politicians, the denominator is us. They got this shit flipped thinking that we work for them. You need to flip this shit back and make them know that they work for us. Mic check!
Mic check!
Thank you, shut them down. Makes sense, yes. Real quick before I bring my sister Nicola, where's she at? Okay, come over here, Queen. I just wanted to say, when I was talking about the the former sergeant that pretty much got immunity, I wanted to say real quick how he was actually going to the scenes of crimes and getting them to write their story, telling them how to write their stories. You talk about when they murder people, do all type of heinous crimes, he's like, make sure y'all cover y'all ass and let's write the story right. And that's exactly what they did when they murdered my brother Tyrone West. When you think about it, how are these 17 stories going to sound the same? Right now, if something broke out right now, we're going to all see something a little different. All of us is not going to come up and say, oh, there was a man that ran down the street, he put the water on the ground, and he spit on it and kicked on it. We're going to all have different little stuff about it. Yeah, we may have a big fat guy, he pushed the water down, knocked it down or whatever, but we're going to be, oh, and then he swung, he cast out here. We're going to say different stuff. Look at how they report stuff. That's all I want to tell you. That's exactly what they still doing, covering their own hind parts. Mic check.
Mic check!
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Like my sister stated, tired of coming down here and not getting any kind of justice for our families. I am here representing two people within 2 weeks. September the 21st, 2012, my father-in-law, Anthony Anderson, was killed by the Baltimore City Police Department. 2 weeks later, my daughter, Ajay Harad, was murdered in the streets because she witnessed the murder. What they did to my daughter was took her to the police department, questioned her without me, her father, or an attorney, and they rendered my baby as a snitch. What do you do with a snitch? You get rid of it, right? They don't give a damn if you black, white, Chinese, purple, or polka dots. If you are snitching, you are getting stitches or you getting under the ground. No exception to the rule. My father-in-law was preparing himself for his granddaughter's birthday. That day, when he was coming from the packaged goods store to pick up something for his girlfriend, they snuck up behind him, not even announcing who they were, hoisted my father-in-law over top of their heads, slamming him on his head and neck area. They beat him, they kicked him, and then they left him there to die. They held the paramedics up for 3 hours before they even let them through to assist my father-in-law. And do you know what they had the audacity to say? Ain't nothing wrong with him. He just don't want to go to jail. What? So you literally let this man lie here on your leg, held him up by the back of his shirt while he was dying, and held the paramedics up for 3 hours because you said he was afraid to go to jail? Don't nobody give a damn about jail? Nobody at all. What's so sad about the whole situation is that an animal has more rights than we do. If you kill an animal right now, you will get more time in prison than you would if you was to kill a human being. And when they kill us, they get a slap on the wrist. Don't do it again. We'll give them these crumbs right here to shut them the hell up because we tired of hearing their voices. But as long as I have breath in my body, Nicole Pettiford, you will always see this face, whether it's covered up with a mask or it's plain as day. And I will be here to fight for not only Anthony Anderson, Ajay Harad, Tyrone West. I'm fighting for us all because this is a family that we were pulled into that we didn't want to be in. But at the end of the day, you are all my sisters and brothers, and I love you all. No matter the reason why we came together, we are together now. First and foremost, you can tear a piece of paper in half, but try it with a phone book. It's very few that can do it. Together we stand, divided we fall. As long as we stick together, they will never have the victory. They will never have the last word. It's going to be us, and we're going to be victorious at the end of the day. Mike check!
Mike check!
Mike check?
Mike check!
I just want to say one thing. She said that when the police get charged, they get a slap on the wrist if they even get that.
Yeah.
But for every Kim Potter, for that 1 year, there were still 1,099 murders that were not prosecuted. For every Derek Chauvin, there was still another 1,099 murders that year. There are an average of 1,100 murders by police every year. Every year. And the number of police fatalities, like where police are killed, is so fucking minuscule compared to that. They don't get killed like they want to say they're getting killed. Their job ain't that fucking dangerous. They're just out there killing people willy-nilly because they can and they know they're going to get away with it. Mic check.
Mike check!
And that's the truth. And real quick, I want y'all to focus on this wall of shame. And this is only a few of the killer cops that murdered my brother. This is one, yes, please. So take a real good look at these stinking animals.
Take your camera, take a
Stinking
picture and
animals.
share.
And they still walking the beat. This is disgusting to me. Pepper spray all on their hands and everything. But like my sister Nicole said, what they do is they make it seem like the victims got what was happening to them. And then they make it seem like, oh, they didn't want to go back to jail. They say the same foolishness about my brother. And then the way they delayed them getting medical treatment, they wanted them to die. They was not going to let them survive. Because why? They would have been Keith Davis Jr. They would have been Keith Davis Jr. Because if they don't kill you, they damn sure going to bury you alive. That's how corrupt they are. But that's the games that they play. And then I think about Anthony Anderson. I'm going to pass the mic to whoever wanted before we start reading the homicide list and things of that nature. But I wanted to say, all the damage that happened to Anthony Anderson, and he was only killed by what, 3 police officers?
It was 3 or 4.
3 or 4, maybe let's say 4. But he had a ruptured spleen, broken ribs, all that. Think about Freddie Gray with those 6 killer maniacs. So you mean to tell me Tyrone West was kicked, stomped, beat, pepper sprayed, tased, hit with batons, You mean to tell me he ain't have no Russian screen? He ain't have all this stuff? Think about it. Think about that. I want to leave y'all with that. Think about that. You got one unarmed man being pulled by his dreadlocks, tortured, kicked, stomped, open fist. Look at these big stinking animals. They wanted to talk about my brother's son. Let's look at this big guy. This guy's 6'8", 320 pounds. Okay? This is the one. This is to me the black dog showman. This is David Keller Lewis from Morgan. Private police. And they wonder why Johns Hopkins University students stuck up and said no private police.
Right.
They the real heroes. Let's be crystal clear. They put their life on the damn line. They did a sit-in and they sat there, refused to be moved. And what did they have? All the corruption. They let people break in and try to do horrific things to those brave souls that stood there. I got threatened. They gave my lawyer call and said, told Tawanda Jones, and this was the president of Hopkins, Ronnie D. Told Tawanda Jones, if she comes on our property, we're gonna get her for trespassing. Oh, that got me real pumped. I couldn't wait. I left work early. Oh, excuse me, I gotta get the hell out of here. I got an emergency. Not only am I going, I'm going a little bit earlier. And had it not been for, I'll never forget walking back to my car, not thinking being hot-headed, you know, like, hey, that was a big powerful protest. We had over 1,000 people walking from Greenmount and 33rd. Walking peacefully. We had at the Hopkins, we did a Skype call. We had people call in from different universities in solidarity. One cause, one purpose, one fight. It was real powerful, meaningful. I was happy. I'm like, I'm going to go to my car. Had it not been for Uncle Bill saying, somebody, let's walk to our car. I wasn't thinking. I parked by some dark, isolated woods over there by Hopkins, and they had a white racist guy waiting by my car, yelling obscenities to us, had his 16-year-old son, and had it not been, and I named her Go Hard. Why? Because she go hard. I mean, this dude was swinging and everything. They took hits for me. Her and Opal took hits for me. Those punches wasn't for them. They was for me. And God knows what they would have did. Or if I would even been still standing here today, I might have would have been a missing victim. Mysteriously disappeared. Or mysteriously got hit by a bullet. Anything. I don't trust anything about it. So when we look at all these homicides in our city that's happening right now, please stop keep saying, we need to stop killing each other. Yeah, that's true. Like if we have this, whatever parts of the, whatever proportion of this, where we're retaliating on each other and we're killing each other, we do need to stop. True, facts. But all this is not us. It's so devastating. I can't even get on Facebook without every 2 posts that I read, somebody done got killed. They say rest in peace. I looked in there and saw the 40-year-old Queen, which was one of my mutual friends. It was one of his friends. He's like, I woke up to devastating news. This Queen was gunned down, and they're always the same thing. They don't have a suspect. And then they try to make all this stuff about carjacking. And then they got the root, and I'm glad I don't like him. I don't like him. So if he don't know nothing else, I don't like his ass. That made my day when somebody told me that he said, oh, Tawanda don't like me. I don't like him. I can't stand him. Goddamn right, and I don't give a damn. And I think they probably will make this joke at the next state's attorney. I'm still going to push up on him to open my brother's case and look him in his face and say, I still don't like you. I don't like him. I don't like anybody corrupt. How dare you tell the cameras, turn the police cameras off because of who you are. Are you serious? When my brother got killed before goddamn cameras? When Timothy Fleming was murdered with a camera? When Darnell Rochester was murdered on camera? You gonna tell them to turn the camera off? And we want somebody like that in office? Are you kidding me? Look at who they trying to put in there. And as much as I do not like the stuff that Marilyn Mosby, the games that she has played with my family or families. We better be real clear on who the hell they gonna put in there next. Because it ain't gonna be for us. And I don't care, and I'm not speaking up for her at all. But I do know that they did get mad, even though she ain't do a damn thing. But the fact that she stood up and said that she was going to pretend to do something. Pretend to do something. When she put herself in that role, I'm going to pretend I'm going to do something funny. They like, oh, we got you. We got you. That's what that's about.
That's right.
Let's be clear. That's what that is about. But if that sister would have stood up for my family, would have got whoever killed Kevin Jones' family and got those killer cops that tried to murder Keith Davis Jr., where'd we go? I'd be out here fighting for her ass right now. But however, she ain't do that for me and my family, so oh well. Oh well. So I'm gonna get a mic to anybody else that wanna say something before we read our sad list and things of that nature. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic
Mic
check.
check.
So for those that don't know, the two cops that started the attack on Tyrone West were Chapman. No, I need that. Were Chapman and Ruiz. So I want to have us do a chant before I say a few words. Chapman and Ruiz, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Chapman and Ruiz, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. One more. Chapman and Ruiz, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. So to want to mention that these police murders have been going on since the 90s, I want to take us back a little further. In the 1970s, we're talking almost 50 years ago, there was a young man in Westport named Calvert Hazelton. I think he may have still been in high school. He was young, and he had a job, and around 2 in the morning, he was bicycling back home to Westport, and he had a duffel bag with his clothes, and a cop that was on that beat, his name was Curly, said to stop. I don't remember what the cop's excuse was, but Calvert didn't want to stop at 2 in the morning alone with a cop, so he kept bicycling. And what did Curly do? He shot him in the back and killed him. Now, it just so happened we were organizing in the Westport neighborhood at that time around a number of issues. So we were able to organize a community meeting of about 300 people against this police murder. And we had a friendly debate there. Should we march to the police station right at that point, at the conclusion of the meeting? And it was a very long distance to the police station from there. But the overwhelming sentiment was, we're going to march. And we did. And we didn't succeed in getting, I forgot the guy, Curly. I don't know his real name. That was his nickname. We didn't succeed in getting him fired, but we did succeed in getting him taken out of the Westport neighborhood. So it's always good to struggle, and this struggle goes back a long way. In fact, Calvert Hazelton's death was just about 20 years after the lynching of Emmett Till. So it's a continuous history of racist violence, like Shorty was talking about. Racist violence in the United States goes way back, and it's even worse now. It's hard to believe, but it's worse because for every person that was lynched each year during the Jim Crow period, there are 4 people killed by the police today. And a little later on this evening, I'll be the person reading the list of the most recent killings since last West Wednesday. There are 19 people whose names we're going to be upholding tonight. I just want to mention one other thing by way of announcements. We're coming up to the May Day March. May Day originated in the fight for the 40-hour work week, and it also deals with all forms of oppression. And one of the big focuses of May Day is the fight against police murder. Tawanda has spoken at these marches in New York for a number of years now, and so have the family members of a number of other victims. So if you'd like to learn more about it, we're going to have a dinner in Druid Hill Park on April the 23rd at 4 o'clock in one of the pavilions. Everyone's invited. And then on March the 30th, which is the Saturday closest to April the 30th, will be getting on a bus 7:30 in the morning from Poly and Western and going to New York for the May Day March. So anyone who wants to come, it would be great to have you. Mic check!
Mic check!
And I'm sorry, Uncle Bill, I thought that was my paper. I'm like, did my paper fall out of my pocket? Anybody else want to say something? Mic check.
Mic
We
check!
got Miss
We got fire! We got fire on the mic! Bring the smoke!
I won't be before you long because everything that needed to be said was said already. But I just want to wrap it up again as a supporter, as someone that has not lost someone to police violence, but however is connected to families that has lost someone to police violence and murder. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this game that was being played by politicians, by the commissioner, by the mayor, sitting there pretending that these families still are not out here struggling and fighting for accountability. That don't make any sense. And to my scam folks that sit back and looking at social media and cheering us on and ain't out here doing shit, you need to come out here and do something. Take to the streets. Put on your mask if you're still afraid that COVID is out here, but you need to get out here and do some work. I mean that. Because that's embarrassing. It is so embarrassing that now we got done in Rochester, in which the mayor got the nerve to sit out here and commit the Warren Task Force and the police of doing a fabulous job, great job, whatever the word that he used. But he had hoisted them up while the family was fighting every day, literally, for accountability, and to include yesterday. And you got the nerve, you got these politicians and they henchmen and henchwomen got the nerve to sit here and try to play the division game. It's being played, people. Pay attention. I'm going to keep on saying, free Keith Davis Jr.
Free Keith Davis Jr.
Because he's a part of this, he survived this. Kelly shouldn't even have to be fighting as long as she has. Tawana shouldn't be having to fight for this long. Nicole. The list goes on. Angela. New families. It's 2022. Police are still killing people out here.
Right.
And then go home to their families. And it's so entrenched. You got your judicial system, state's attorney, everybody's in bed with one another.
Right.
Can't speak up, won't speak up, because they want to point and turn up and just say somebody deserve it. I do not want that kind of policing in my city. I live here, been here for over 30 years. And to see bodies drop like that, and none of all of these murders that you're seeing right now, it's not inter-community violence.
Right. Say it.
I'm on record for saying that. At Mindy12. I'm on Twitter. You know where to find me. Mic check.
Mic check.
And I want to back up again. They need to stop purging. Because it's, to me, legalized genocide. You kill a Negro, you become a hero, and it don't matter who. And this is sad. This is really sad and very disgusting. And again, Darnell should be here. He was about to graduate from high school. Just had his 18th birthday. And for the man, I remember the first time when he came out, I kept wondering why Brandon Scott was looking like that. I kept saying, damn, why he look like that? His head all down, this, that, and the third. He looked like he was drunk. I'm like, what? Because he knew they killed a baby. And you going to stand there and support that. You gonna stand there and support that. And the commissioner, shame on him too. That's a grown man. And I don't know if he got children or not, but Darnell Rochester could have been their child. Tyrone Watts could have been their brother or uncle or cousin or whoever. Timothy Clemens could have been their family member. Anthony Anderson. Oh, beautiful world. This she could have been their baby. So we can ready, so before we can wrap up, I respect everybody's time. I want to thank everybody again. I want to add, oh yeah, come on, yeah. This the man, and I always quote this phrase. You can't clean a dirty house with a filthy mouth. That's what they be doing. That's Mr. You can't clean. Mic check.
Mic check.
How y'all doing? I just wanted to just kind of paint a picture of what we have going on in the city, just to kind of lay the framework for what we're dealing with and why we're here tonight. So we have Keith Gladstone, who was a BPD sergeant who had admitted to decades, everybody say decades, decades of corruption, stealing and planting drugs, stealing and planting guns, and lying to the FBI. Lying to the FBI. This is a police officer who are lying to police officers. And I like to say he was a sergeant because you have to move up through the ranks. So this was a man who moved up. I don't want to just say police officer. This man was a sergeant. This man was a sergeant. It's a lot of y'all that deserve promotions right now and don't get it. And there's some other folks getting the promotions and they do some low down dirty things. They don't deserve it. So we've got City Hall that is now open to the public after 2 years. But the trick with that is that city council meetings will no longer be filmed online until July. So so that's the trade-off. So City Hall is open. However, if you can't get there, you can't stream online. So this is just some of the many games that they're playing. You know, Brandon Scott said that the Royal Palms Arena was going to be getting a reboost due to Kevin Durant. We also heard about a developer who has said that he would purchase and redo the gallery. So we're seeing some investment in some areas and some blatant disinvestment in others, which of course isn't unique to our city. In fact, it's been going on for quite a long time. And so I just wanted to kind of list some of those things. And then we also have Darnell Rochester's family who spoke at a demonstration on Saturday, who said that they, anytime Brandon Scott shares a post, they will comment on his post, you know, justice for Darnell, and Brandon Scott will actually like the comments. Yep. Wow. I did say that. So we now understand that our intelligence is now being insulted. And so what I want to urge everybody here today, well, number one, I want to let y'all know that you're not crazy. That everything that you're seeing right now in your scope of vision is very real. It's disgusting, but it's real. And the second thing is, it should only urge us to bring more people out here. I love each and every one of y'all out here, and I've been seeing y'all for 7 years. But we cannot sustain this movement alone. We need extra bodies out here. It is rife with corruption. This city is rife with corruption. Angela Davis said that the conditions that we are experiencing now are worse. Everybody say worse. Worse than what she experienced in the 70s. And we all know what she went through. If not, her autobiography was actually just revamped and is now out. Go to the library or the bookstore to check that out. But in spite of everything that she dealt with, she said that the conditions now are worse than what they are then. I don't know what it's going to take, and I'm going to tell you what happened in 2020 with George Floyd was awesome. The momentum and the power was awesome. But let me tell you, it's 2022, and we're still dealing with the same things today. Where are those people today? Where are those people today? I watched as those youth organized a very beautiful demonstration, Tawanda, very beautiful. And all kinds of folks came out. The streets was packed. We were masked up, the streets were packed. And then the demonstration ended and the sun started to go down, but there was some other young folk who were a little bit more radical, and they decided they weren't going to go home and that they would stay. And I and those kids and a few other of us that were out here were met with brute force. Yeah. Brute force by the Baltimore City Police Department. In fact, I like to call it the demonstration that never happened, because it's not talked about. Baltimore Sun called me and said, hey, you're on Twitter saying that the police that met those kids with brute force, but the police are saying that it didn't happen. Can I get your story? I said, yeah, this is what it was. That story never came out.
It doesn't fit their false narrative.
I got a spine injury that I'm still healing from June 2020. Right now.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So I just wanted to just paint the picture, not to keep you, but I just wanted to just lay the framework. This is a ripe moment for resistance. This is a ripe moment, and we have the power. But only when we build and only when we add to what we have. Again, I love seeing y'all's faces, but this can't sustain a movement alone.
Right.
This can't be it. And it won't be it, right? We can't stop, we won't stop. There's not a whole lot of options in that. I'm hearing can't, and I'm hearing won't. So if we're not going to sit down, who's going to join us? All right, mic check.
Mic check.
That was beautiful. Y'all got church for free tonight. I ain't even gonna pass the basket around. Alright, so do anybody else want to say anything before we go into the sad list? Alright, this is my sister Queen. Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check.
Hey,
Say it like you mean it.
Peace, y'all. So I just want to lift up real quick. Yes, okay. I want to lift up the words and the sentiments of Kwame Ture. To all you lonely revolutionaries out there, if you do not have an organization that you are in solidarity with and you are working with, you better find one or you better create one. Here's West Wednesday Coalition. There's Ujima's People's Progress Party. There's Black Alliance for Peace. So many organizations. Communities United, the list goes on and on and on. The Free Keith Davis Coalition. Okay? I want to uplift the 1033 program. And I asked someone here if they knew what the 1033 program was, and they said no. And so I figured I'd share a little bit about that with y'all. So, the 1033 program allows any federal, state, or local law enforcement agency to acquire military weapons from the Pentagon. Police departments claiming to need help fighting the war on drugs, created to further control, colonize, incarcerate, and terrorize working class African and Black people are particularly encouraged to partake. This is how much has already been given to Baltimore. $500,000 in military weaponry, including Glocks and riot-type shotguns, kept at historically Black colleges like Coppin State University and Morgan State University. It is not a mistake that Black and brown bodies are continually being murdered. In the spirit of Assata Shakur, we need to name correctly what is happening. It is a genocide. Say it again, genocide. Genocide. And Commissioner Harris, Brandon Scott, and even the health commissioner are overseers of systems that commit genocide. Shorty spoke a little bit about how we cannot listen to the news, especially Fox News. If we can't trust the news, who can we trust? I encourage y'all to start looking at Black Agenda Report. I'm going to say it again, Black Agenda Report. They are a radical news organization that correctly points to how imperialism, white supremacy, anti-Black racism continue to perpetuate genocide, not only here in the United States, but also across the African diaspora. This is happening on the continent, this is happening on the islands, this is happening in the global south. Okay? I encourage everyone here, I know there's a lot of learning to do. I encourage everyone here to subscribe to Black Alliance for Peace, to Black Agenda Report, and I encourage anyone who is watching, especially white folks in Charles Village, who are part of an organization that I will not name right now. If you do not know, if you are more concerned with getting Black and brown folks in your organization instead of being out here supporting women like Tawanda, you got an issue.
Let's go.
You got your priorities out of whack. Black and brown people don't need to be in your white spaces because we already have our own spaces. We need y'all to do what the fuck we're asking you to do. And now show up. Paint. Show up. Materially, emotionally. Black and brown bodies now, white comrades. I know y'all can do better. I hope to see some of y'all here next week. Mic check?
Mic check!
Alrighty, so again, thank you guys for your time. So we're gonna, unfortunately, I just want us to take a minute just to be quiet, stand in solidarity with both of these lists, because at the end of the day, regardless if your loved one was murdered from a killer cop or somebody from around the way on your block, once murder hits your door, that changes your life forever. And you don't give a damn who it is. All you give a damn is about accountability. Your life is literally changed in an instant, in a blink of an eye. Your loved one is no longer here anymore. I want y'all to let that sink in. So let's take 1 minute, please, and just respect that these are human beings that we are reading, and unfortunately, they're no longer with us. They're no longer in our space. Someone loves them. We love them. So let's take 1 minute just to show respect. If you pray, say a prayer. If you don't pray, just think of ways that we can stop this. Like my sister said, legalize genocide. It's not right. Let's take 1 minute starting now. Thank you guys so much, and again, my heart goes out to these families, because at the end of the day, words cannot take place to say enough to hold a family up in their time of need. Words is simply not enough. All the praying in the world is simply not enough. It's our actions, guys. So again, we're going to start off with our brother Brian. He's going to read, unfortunately, the sad city homicide list, and you might not even hear some names tonight, because unfortunately, when you have a system that you're reading from, they're not going to give us accurate information. Because I heard names today, literally today, I know they're not going to be on his list. But even if you don't hear the name, just keep these families in prayer or thought. Mic check.
Mic check!
Okay, we have been out here in person for a while, and I know there's people here who I haven't seen a lot before, so I'm just going to say a little bit about this list and where it comes from and why we read it. This is a list of names of people who were killed in Baltimore between March 20th and March 26th. And I read these names for two reasons. Well, there's a human one, which is in a lot of ways what Tawana just talked about. These are people who have died and their families are suffering, and in the end all violence comes from the same roots and leads to the same pain. And so by holding these people up, we try and express our solidarity with all the people, all the victims of violence here in Baltimore and throughout the world. It's also a political act to read these names. It's not infrequent to hear when you're talking about police violence, people are like, oh well, they don't talk about the black on black violence. And, why don't you solve that problem first? And whenever I hear that, I want to say that when I look around here, I see people, and they're the same people I see at Ceasefire, and I see at Algebra Project, and I see at the composting project. The people who are out here on the street now are the people that I see trying to fight community violence. The people I don't see fighting community violence and struggling against community violence are the people who are saying, well, why aren't you struggling against it? Those are the people who, I guess I'm reading these names to hold them to account, to ask them what they've done. And so I'd ask you to just lift up each of these people's names, just mic check them back to me, and we will, try to express our solidarity and with them and their families. Braylon Gannon, 15.
Braylon Gannon.
Mike, check.
Sorry. Braylon Gannon, 15.
Braylon Gannon, 15.
Edward Gary, 26.
Edward Gary, 26.
Courtney Campbell, 34.
Courtney Campbell, 34.
Alan Howard, 22.
Alan Howard, 22.
Thank you.
Mike, check.
Mike, check.
So before I bring up we bring up Uncle Bill, I wanted to check in with anybody. Did somebody lose their debit card? If you lost your debit card, please come up here. Have somebody's debit card.
Oh, so that debit card been sitting there. Okay. That was sitting there since yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well, you can trash it. Okay. Alright, and it's just so sad. So now we're gonna get Uncle Bill to read the other sad list. And it's just really sad for me to hear that a baby 15 years old, that is heartbreaking. And the way that baby was executed, like I read it, all the murders are sad. Doesn't matter how old or whatever, what sex or religion, a murder is heartbreaking, guys. This is so sad. Mic check.
Mic check.
Check.
Hopefully this will work. The phone's been a little fritzy about trying to be on this site. The last person whose name we upheld, murdered by police at West Wednesday last week, was Zyshawn Johnson. That was on March the 24th. So following that, and if you could repeat the name so we can honor these fallen victims of police brutality, that would be good. On March the 25th, in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 22 years old, Miguel Estrella.
Miguel Estrella.
Also on the 25th, in Donaldson, Florida, 46 years old, Brian Otto.
Brian Otto.
On March 26th, in Ada, Oklahoma, 38 years old, Timothy Yoakum.
Timothy Yoakum.
Now this person has not yet been identified, and so I'm going to say Ashe. As I understand it, Yoruba, Ashe means let it be so. So when I say the name, I say the place and the date, and I say Ashe. I don't mean let it be so that he was killed. I mean let it be so that we fight police brutality tooth and nail. So this young man, we don't know the age, was killed on March the 26th in Rapid City, South Dakota. Ashe.
Ashe.
Also on March the 26th, 29 years old, in Indian River County, Florida, Zachary Anderson.
Zachary Anderson.
Again on March 27th, Lexington, Kentucky, 43 years old, Frederick Miller.
Frederick Miller.
Again on March 27th, in Margate, Florida, 82 years old, Jose Suarez.
Jose Suarez.
On March the 27th, again, in Fort Mojave, Arizona, this man has not yet been identified. Ashe.
Ashe.
In Maricopa, Arizona, again on March 27th, not yet identified. Ashe.
Ashe.
Again on March 27th, in Shaves County, New Mexico, 35 years old, David Aguilera.
David Aguilera.
March the 28th in Las Vegas, Nevada. This man has not yet been identified. Ashe.
Ashe.
March the 29th in Greenwood, Indiana. This was someone in a vehicle, which is very similar to Donnell Rochester, though I don't know the details. It sounds similar. This woman has not yet been identified. Ashe.
Ashe.
We have 7 more names to uphold. On March the 29th in Tucson, Arizona, this man's not yet identified. Ashe.
Ashe.
In March the 29th in Fresno, California, 24 years old, killed by police, as are all the people I'm mentioning, Joseph Roy.
Joseph Roy.
March 29th again, Mifflin Township, Pennsylvania, 35 years old, Vance Brown.
Vance Brown.
March the 29th again in Aspiria, California, 42 years old, Anthony Nunez.
Anthony Nunez.
March the 30th in Atkins, Arkansas, a man not yet identified, Ashe.
Ashe.
Miami-Dade County, Florida, March the 31st, 53 years old, not yet identified, Ashe.
Ashe.
March the 31st in Columbia Township, Michigan, 36 years old, not yet identified, Ashe.
Ashe.
And that was the last person that we'll be upholding tonight, March the 31st. Can't stop, won't stop.
Till killer cops are in cell blocks.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Thanks, Uncle Bill. Thanks, Brother Brian. And I want to also thank our brother Bruce, because he's always going to West Ramsey video, and he always has his beautiful sister Beth with us, so y'all can see his spirit. And I just want to thank each and every last person that came down here tonight, or even if you couldn't make it out here tonight, just watching us online. And of course, my video cut off like 20 times, which I knew it would.
I got you.
My phone jacked up, but thank God Rachel got it, so I'll go right on her page. I'll erase all those other videos, 25 videos, and just put hers up. But again, I just want to thank you guys. But remember, the reason why we came here, and I want this to stay on your mind, we deserve answers from Marilyn Mosley. Let's not get caught up. I know we gave you guys a lot. You know, it was a lot we gave you tonight. It was a lot to take and embrace. But the reason why we came down here, the reason why we will be back out here every month, we don't care if it's rain, sleet, or snow, Killer Cats and Marilyn Mosley must go.
That's right.
We demand answers. Like, we demand answers. Either she's going to prosecute or not. That's all we need. If we don't wrote her, you know, I got the receipt, everything, still have not responded. And that is disgusting to me. So we demand answers, regardless if, you know, she's going to say anything back or not. But the fact, I know one of her people are watching, and they might be out here tonight. If you're out here tonight, just tell her, I want an answer. I want an answer, that's all. We sat down years ago, grown woman to grown woman, we sat down at a table, and you got my new evidence just sitting on my desk, on your desk. And just like my sister Dina said, I shouldn't have had to go through that. Families that are traumatized should not have to go through that. You had enough of evidence, because we know that there's no statutation limit on murder. You can solve a cold case 40, 50 years as long as you got evidence. You got more than enough evidence.
That's right.
So we demand answers. We demand answers about Timothy Fleming. We need his autopsy report ASAP.
Yes.
Timothy Fleming's family does not need to still be in that home, no babies.
That's right.
We shouldn't have had to raise up any dime, a penny, or nothing. Y'all should be doing that. Y'all could have easily took those babies. Y'all still can. If you're watching this,